Welcome back to the Anthony Lee Crypto channel. Today on the Bitcoin price, we're going to take a look and see if we can figure out what the rest of January holds. Now, if you find this content useful, go ahead and click below, subscribe to the channel, join us in Discord. We would love to have you. Let's dive right in and take a look. So we are looking at the 2-day time frame here on Bitcoin, and you can see I have this indicator on with these long and short entry signals, all right? Okay, this indicator is called the Lionheart EMA strategy. Right there, you can see it at the bottom here. I have it toggled on. This is an indicator that I created and you can only get as part of the Anthony Lee Crypto Discord. So join the Discord, you can get it for free. This indicator is an EMA strategy. On the 2-day, it has only ever failed once. Now, the parameters for this strategy are you have the white 5 EMA, the orange 13 EMA, and the 55 green EMA, okay? On the 2-day time frame, when the 5 crosses the 13, a long entry is signaled, and an exit signal. You can see these exits. Exits are given once price reaches that 55 EMA. In the history of Bitcoin, on the 2-day time frame, this signal has only ever failed once, and I will show you that one real quick. That was right here back in August, and I forgot to mention the failing parameter is price doesn't have to go straight to the target in a straight line. It can dance around a little bit, but it will not come back and mitigate the previous swing high. So right here you can see it was a failure. We got the signal here. Price kind of danced around a little bit. It did come back and take out the previous high right there. So this was a failure, even though it did wind up coming and hitting the target. Technically, this would be considered a failure because it took out the previous high. That is the only time in the history of Bitcoin on the 2-day time frame this signal has failed. It has never failed on the daily time frame. And of course, you can use it on any time frame with varying results as far as your win-loss ratio. But the daily and 2-day have the highest hit rates at 100% and 98% on the 2-day time frame. So we are currently under this signal. We have not yet come up and hit the 55. Now, it doesn't mean we're going to shoot straight up to it in a straight line. We can dance around, but we should not come and take out this previous swing low here. So we are expecting some more upside momentum. We are expecting this to come up and tag the 55 2-day EMA, which is currently coming in right at the point of control. We're looking at the Binance chart, by the way. The volume profiles vary pretty greatly on the Bitcoin chart, depending on what exchange you're looking at. But on this particular one, we're looking at the Binance. It actually coincides with the Coinbase and the KCEX and a couple others. So those seem to be kind of the most reliable ones right now with price action. Now, we want to reference over to the January stats. I normally put these out every single month, and we can glean from that tentative high-low dates, percentages of wicks to the upside and the downside. And we get pretty dang close with most of these. But with January, it really is just a mixture of just all over the place. I have stared at this chart for the longest time, and I can't find any rhyme or reason to January. There's just no pattern to it. Some days you go to the high date or low date early, the middle, the end of the month. It's just there's no consistency here. There's no consistency on price action either. But we do have totals, so we can look at them because at the end of the day, stats are stats, right? I don't count the first 3 years of Bitcoin. Price for most of the time was under $100, and it's just not relevant to a $100,000 asset, right? So, and that's back in the day when you're having just crazy months of 300-400% Bitcoin swings, and it's just not relevant. They're outliers, so we do away with those in our stats. And the average wick high on Bitcoin is 24.5%, and wick low is about 14.5%. Now, that's wick to wick, okay? The average date for high and low are both right there around the 15th, so just no pattern, really no pattern. You can't even see on positive closing months that you started out to the downside and then finished upside. It is just really all over the place, which is unfortunate because usually we can get pretty close. We can get a good read on what happens, kind of like an if this, then that kind of scenario, but not on January. However, one thing to note, only once in the history of Bitcoin have you had really no downside. Again, not counting the first year of Bitcoin. It was just up only for like 2 years. So Back in 2023, you had only a 0.21% wick to the downside. So other than that, it's pretty all over the place. 3 times, though, you've had a 4% move to the downside, okay? Including these most recent ones of 4.62 and 8%. So 4 and 8 in the last 2 years. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 5 out of the last 6 years have been probably an average of 4%. If you do away with that 28%, then you're averaging right about 4% over the last 6 years. So I think that's pretty accurate to current price action. The last 5 out of the last 6 years, about 4% average. So what could we expect if we were, let's switch over to the daily time frame. Again, reference in the back of your mind, we are still under that 2-day Lionheart signal, which is now to about 96K-ish, right there at the point of control. So let's flip over to the monthly time frame. Let's take a look. Thus far this month, we have 0, and I mean 0 wick to the downside. So that has only happened once in the history of Bitcoin, and I don't think this is going to be the second time. There are other factors that lead me to that decision also, but let's assume we can possibly go to the downside to about at least 4%, because that is the average out of the last 6 years is about 4% to the downside, and only once has it gone over that. So about 4% is going to put you right here about that wick low, right around 83 to 84K. So you could even stretch that out to 6% to the value area low here around 82K. So really, I would say anywhere between 82 to 84K would be a good low target for the month. Now, that certainly doesn't mean we can't just fall right over and go to 50K from here, okay? We certainly can. But historically, at least over the last 6 years, we would be looking for a downside move of somewhere between 82 and 84K. 84 being kind of the minimum-ish, kind of average right there. With more likelihood, if you come down there, you're probably going to take that wick and go on down to the value area low. So somewhere in that 82 to 84K. And to the high side, we're averaging about 14% or so. So if we got that type of move, we would be looking somewhere up in the area about 100K, somewhere in there. I think that's a bit adventurous. I think that's a bit exaggerated and extreme for this month. I do think we do hit at least the point of control, probably a little bit higher, and I'm going to show you what I'm actually looking for, okay? Let's flip over to the daily. You can see from the daily where we had this breakdown. Let's see if we can map it out. You kind of broke down right about here. This is really kind of where you lost it. About 101K is really kind of about where you lost it. Maybe even a little lower than that, but yeah, kind of right there about 100K is about where this thing started to break down. I mean, it's a little iffy. You have some wicks to the downside, but once you, I mean, if you want to get really technical about it, you really lost it a little lower than that, but that's a pretty good estimate, about 100K. So what I think we could see is probably a move up to the underneath side here, about 98 to 100K, probably wick above this point of control. And if we did that from the opening of January, we would be looking at something like anywhere from a 10 to 12%, 10 to 13%, somewhere in there, about 98, minimum of 96K, guys, minimum, because that 2-day Lionheart signal should play out and should hit its target at around 96K. So that is the minimum to the upside we're looking for. But I think we make a little bit higher, at least according to historical stats. And I think we come into back test our breakdown area, which is going to put you somewhere about 98K-ish, somewhere in the area, that 0.32 fib, something like that. And then I think we roll on over and we come to the downside, and we'll kind of glean what happens there later. But then we come something like this for the month of January. This is how the Anthony Crypto crew is going to play it. Now, if we flip back in time, we go all the way back to 2023. Let's go right here. This is the last time that we had no downside movement on Bitcoin, okay? The only time in history we've had no downside movement on Bitcoin. And you can see it was right here. I'll go ahead and mark out the candle open of the January month was right there. And what do you know? We were actually under a 2-day Lionheart signal there, okay? You got the signal here. It did come down, but it did not violate the criteria. See, it came on down a little. Well, it went up a little and then came down. Did not come down and take out the low before eventually coming and hitting its target right there at the 2-day 55 EMA. And then you continued on for a significant rally. This was headed out of the bear market here. So I think we could be looking for something like that, where you just kind of come down a little bit and then head up. Looking at our rally coming out of the last bull run, when we're headed down to the bear market, we got a rally here, kind of similar here. We hit a 2-day, right here, guys, we hit a 2-day Lionheart signal. I will highlight that for you right here. Hit this 2-day Lionheart signal. We rallied up just above the 55, came just above the 55 before rolling over and coming back down. And I think we're going to be looking for something very, very similar to that, guys. Just like that, coming up above the 55, a little higher, right into this breakdown area here, somewhere about 98K. Taking out the 382 and just rolling back over and coming down. So that's how we're going to look to play the rest of January. We're going to look for a move up first, and some of our signals on Cipher are kind of coinciding with that. We are trying to get a 6-hour green dot now. We have money flow in the green. 8-hour moving up that way, looking for a green dot to print in the next day or two. And it goes all the way up. 12 hours down, looking to come up. 18 hours headed up. Daily just starting to curve back to the upside. Money flow on the daily, trying to break into the green now. And then you get into the higher time frames, 2-day, 3-day, 5-day. These are angled down. So what that tells me is we're probably fixing to see a little move to the upside as that 12-hour, 16-hour, and daily time frame kind of curve back around and push up, while the 2- and 3-day will meet it at some point, probably between probably around 98K. And that's where the 2-day and 3-day and 5-day and weekly are going to overpower and take you on down to the downside. So that's what we're looking for. A move up. Now, it doesn't mean you go straight up from here. You could certainly come back down, test some areas, build up some momentum on the super low time frames, the hourly, 15-minute, things like that, and then propel yourself up for the 4-hour, the 12-hour, the daily time frame, hit our targets, and then come on down as the higher time frames take over to the downside. So that's how we're looking for, guys, to move up to about 98K, and then we're coming down at least to 84 to 82K, and we'll have to take a look at that time to see if we're going to bounce from this value area low, and if so, what our targets will be, or if we're going to break all the way down and head to the bear market. So thank you for stopping by. We will see you next time.